Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Happy 2021 regular season. Huzzah. It's here.
It's here.
Finally. Yes. We'll get to some of X.
I even washed my hat for the 2021 season. I'll be wearing that tonight.
Yeah. You know, even though it's officially 2021, I just have a hard time. I've been calling it 2021 season. So, but officially it is. I mean, it'll be in the guide and record book. It'll be 2021. But
right. Yeah.
To me, it's just the 21 season.
Right. All right, Russ, start us off with the pre-show.
Yeah, so interesting times right now, and the NBA may not have all their protocols figured out. It's interesting because right now they're going through the same thing Major League Baseball did. They're canceling games. Guys are out for a while. Those kinds of things, people breaking rules, all those same things are happening. But when somebody tests positive and they go home and they quarantine, when they come back, if they test positive again, they have no way of checking somebody's antibodies. And apparently players are doing that and kind of showing the NBA, look, this could be a false positive. I built up immunity, and the NBA doesn't seem to have a backup plan for this or anything they've approved. So that's something I think they have to approve because there are false positives out there. And I've been doing titers tests for my dogs for the last 20 years. And basically that's so they don't have to get vaccinated every time. The doctors can tell if they're still immune to a certain disease. And then it'll be like, yeah, come back in a year for the vaccination. But you don't over-vaccinate that way. And same thing with people. There is a way of telling. And I'm surprised the NBA hasn't done that. But ESPN just did a report on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go ahead, Kev.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to see that too in the NHL. We're going to have guys. I mean, we've already had 27 positive tests, and 17 of them in Dallas. You know, if once it gets into the room, you know, we're going to have issues. But you know, it won't be the end of the world. You know, provided that you know, nobody gets seriously ill through it, and that's the one area that's a real unknown. I mean, it's really just the lottery.
It is.
Mostly these, all of our athletes are going to be in top physical condition, and they should be able to get through it. But, you know, you don't know. There are underlying issues that people don't know they have, and, you know, it could cause problems. If one of those happen, then all of a sudden all bets are off. But for the most part, it's going to be an inconvenience and not anything they can't overcome.
It'll be hard for fantasy hockey and fantasy basketball players, that's for sure, because trying to keep up with your lineups will be nearly impossible.
Yeah, I'm in a real heavy-duty hockey league, and we've changed now that we can change our lineups every day as opposed to once a week, just because of this COVID situation.
Okay, let me bring Eck in here, but I have something here that just drives me crazy. And if I was a fan of the Houston Texans, I would be livid right now. And for the fact that I think it was last year, they signed Deshaun Watson to a multi-year deal paying him, I think, close to $40 million.
Yep.
Okay. So he knew the state of the organization at that point. He knew, you know, they were a playoff team. They had traded a first-round pick for an offensive lineman to protect him. You know, they had a couple good wide receivers. Now, things have fallen apart this year. They fired their coach. They fired their general manager. They've hired a new general manager. He is pissed off that they didn't consult him about the new general manager. And now, a year into this multi-year deal where he's making, you know, second or third most money in the NFL, he's asking out. And if I'm a fan,
it's not clear whether he's really asking out. They say there's still a very good chance he stays because they can't do anything about it. But he wants to. There is thought that he wants to leave for sure.
Well, I'm not so sure that he felt, you know, the new management team was all that thrilled with him.
Right.
So you know, it's like one of those deals where you sign the deal, but you're signing, you know, not just with the team, but with the organization.
Yeah.
And then that organization has changed, and all of a sudden you're going, well, how do they feel about me? Do I got to prove myself all over again? Do they, you know, are they going to be as patient? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that?
Yeah.
So,
like Mike, did the movie theater ever change hands and all of a sudden they had to re-interview everybody like you worked at the movie theater? They could have, you know, the next group could have fired you.
They did.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Well,
all right, let's
just
get
kidding.
going, guys. We got stuff we got to talk about. We got lots to go on.
Right.
We as exciting as this NFL talk is. I think our fans are dying for us to get into what's actually going to matter now. Finally, we don't have to look at those other sports anymore. Just turn them off. They're pointless.
Yeah, that'll happen.
So we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving then.
They're absolutely pointless.
Right.
We now have a sport again that's going to be played. We don't have any more nights. Like, remember the Paul McCartney song, No More Lonesome Nights?
Uh-huh.
That's what I feel like.
Lonely Nights.
No More Lonely Nights, that's what I feel like. I feel like that actually is a very good album.
Give my regards to Broad Street.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite McCartney solo albums. Very underappreciated.
And that song, who does the guitar solo on it?
No.
David Gilmour from Pink Floyd.
Really? No More Lonely Nights?
Yep.
Wow. There's a lot of good. That actually also has the John Lennon tribute song on it that he did Here Today, which is one of the most beautiful Paul McCartney songs. If you want to listen to a beautiful Paul McCartney song, Here Today, it's like it's in the yesterday realm. But
I'll take a Wings album with Band on the Run. Sorry. Anyhow.
I agree. No, but I'm talking about this is just Paul by himself now. This is like
yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
I know the day. Hello, hockey world. It is Thursday. No, it's not.
No, it's not. You don't know the day.
Hello, hockey world. It is Wednesday, January 13th, 2021.
I quit unless Eck realizes what day it is.
I'm
Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and at least some things never change.
Indeed, Kevin Allen.
And I'm Eklund. Do any of us care what day it is, really?
I don't.
I do.
Does Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? Are they they're just one big?
Well, you have to know when to tune in for the hockey game, so it matters for that.
Yeah, but but the days of the week, like Monday, I get because Monday's the first day my wife goes back to work. In her office, which is nice. Friday, exciting because we're stopping that. We're going to have a fun weekend. But Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they're just one long day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
to me, every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they're all the same now. So
they're
all happy days, right? There you go.
I'm not even going to say the day of the week anymore. All right.
Thank you, Donnie Most.
Yeah, but you still got to get the date right. So
I know, but that would be one less thing I can screw up, Kevin.
That's 50-50 about whether you'll get the date.
I mean, we're going to start betting on it. Kevin's right. Kev, start setting a line because
I will.
He proclaimed that he knew, and he still got it wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the but come on. I've got a lot on my mind. We all have a lot on our minds here because we're getting into this now. We're going to get into some, like, we're going to talk about who's going to win the Stanley Cup champion, and one of us is not going to say the Colorado Avalanche. That's exciting. What other show are you going to find where you're going to hear somebody say that the Colorado Avalanche are not going to win the Stanley Cup? None, because everyone has the Colorado Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup. We're going to talk about who's going to win some awards, and I'm going to start, but I want to start today with something kind of like interesting. That I was working on today. I found it interesting, so I wrote about it. And there are the four things that make this year different. Why do we lean in our chairs when we eat type things? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. They're throwing that out there for Russ. At least got it. All right. Why is this NHL season different? And the first one is relatively obvious. There's 5 reasons. But 56 games is obvious. That's obvious. We got that. We're going to throw that away. How does it change when you only play 7 or 6 other teams? How did that to me is something I thought was really interesting. What does that do? Obviously we hear the rival. We know that, it's going to beef up, and we hope that it beefs up some anger, and stuff like that. We hope that gets going.
There's going to be more penalty minutes because
you think it's going to do?
Yeah, there's going to be more hostility. It's going to be like anybody who's, and I know Russ has interviewed a lot of them, like I have.
Yeah, I was just going to fall back on that.
Original 6 people, they during the season they didn't like the other players.
No,
so
familiarity breeds contempt, and yes.
And here's the other
more
thing
than that, actually.
Yeah,
so even with video, it's hard when a team's on the road. If you're on the road and you're playing a team that you're going to play once in one place and then once again 3 months from now, it's hard to prepare for that team. But even the old timers would say every team knew you. They knew every player. They knew everything about you. And so, while we on the outside always said, well, it must have been easy to play original 6 hockey, it actually made it harder. And I think it will make it harder because any flaws you have as a goalie will be exploited like they've never been exploited before. Everything will be exploited.
Yeah, you can't be good. You can't have your goalie say, "I'm not very good against that team." That's not allowed. That's not allowed to happen, right? You can't just go to another guy when you're playing 3 games in 3 nights or 4 nights or whatever against the same team.
Well, I heard an interesting observation from PJ Stock, who I believe he did write for Hockey Buzz at one point.
Yeah, PJ Stock is I love PJ Stock.
He indicated that, if there was a situation where Toronto plays Edmonton and there was a situation where Zach Cassian took a run at a Leaf player, everybody would mark that down in their mental Rolodex. And the next time that Toronto played Edmonton, which might be 3-4 months from now, they would remember and maybe somebody would do something. In this schedule, Toronto plays Edmonton the next Tuesday. So it's like they might even play him the next game. So it might make them react immediately. It might make them react the next game, but the memory doesn't have to be so long because they're playing these teams so many times and so frequently.
And I'm going to tell you the other thing about this, playing teams frequently, that I think is going to matter this year more than ever before, is we are going to find out who the good coaches are. Because I think when you play teams more often, that the coaches actually play a bigger factor. Like you see in the playoffs. I
would agree with that.
Me too. Yeah.
Game 6 and 7 in the playoffs last year. Like I said yesterday when I was making my predictions, I thought the Islanders would finish ahead of the Flyers. That last year I thought Trotz outcoached Vigneault in that series. As the series went along, he figured out what the Flyers were doing.
I agree with that.
The Flyers didn't figure out what the Islanders are doing. And if that's the case, if you're going to see that as moving forward, that's going to be something. You're going to actually, some coaches are going to have to work a little bit harder, and coaches who can't adjust are going to be exposed. I mean, that's
one other thing I said on Sirius yesterday. I don't think goalies have any rope, especially since they are probably going to be the slowest to get back into form because they had no real games. They just had some scrimmages. So if you see a goalie, even like Carter Hart, giving up 2 or 3 quick ones in the first inning, in the first period, I could see Elliott coming in. Like, it doesn't matter that it's game 1. These games count so much more that I really do think goalies are going to get pulled a lot more and go back in the next game a lot more.
Yeah, well, and I also think it'll be harder to tell who the number 1 goalie is.
Yes,
because they're going to be rotate. I mean, if you're listening, you've already heard so many coaches say, I'm going to alternate goalies, and also there's an unusual number of challengers out there, and by that I mean Sorokin on Long Island, who could end up being better than Varlamov. The kid in Minnesota could end up being better than Talbot. There are a lot of situations like that. So I think this year there'll be confusion for a while at various times about who the number 1 goalie is.
I like that, and I like the idea of pulling goalies quickly because you might as well. There's not going to be any. There used to be a thing, that a coach would say, I wanted to pull him, but we don't play again for 4 days or 5 days. Then I don't want to think about that. The whole time. It doesn't exist. I mean, you're right. If you get pulled, you're like, okay, I'm not. He doesn't have it tonight. It's like just doesn't have it tonight. It's not that he's a bad goalie. He just doesn't have it tonight. We'll put you back in tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But
there is the COVID factor, the roster factor. That's
another one.
The right now it's interesting because until the OHL starts, all those guys are going to get to play in the AHL or be on the taxi squad or be on the NHL squad for a short time, and so that's going to change things. Roster spots are a lot harder now, so there's going to be a lot of roster tinkering, more than we've ever seen before. Like, remember when the Flyers were doing like everyday maneuvers? Every team's going to be doing everyday maneuvers.
It's crazy because the Flyers and Phantoms practiced at rinks right next to each other, so they would just send a guy to practice. You're going over there today, and they just saved a bunch of money. But they saved a bunch of money by saying you make a right when you come out of the building, out of the locker room, instead of a left.
Right. Here's a clue. Don't even bother looking at the NHL transactions list.
No,
because it's completely meaningless. Because teams like Toronto, teams like Tampa Bay, I think Tampa Bay, after the LTIR, they're $8,000 under the cap. They're going to be demoting players on a daily basis. Whenever they're not playing, they're going to be demoting 3 or 4 players to save cap space. Toronto is going to do the same thing. So it's going to be a transaction salad. It's every day. It's going to be the same names back and forth.
Rush touched on the second one to me, which is the COVID factor. Obviously, we're already seeing games canceled. We're already seeing games postponed. I mean, we're already seeing situations where certain players are going to be out for a period of time. We don't know yet what COVID does to an NHL player and how quickly they can return. Like, I want to see Zibanejad
Right, we have to see what he looks like.
Yeah, but will he have a tough time getting his win back quick more than he would if he just had the flu? Like, we don't have any idea.
I think all players are going to have trouble in the third period for at least the first week or two. All players. Maybe if you're really young, you won't. But I think teams with veterans, some of those guys are going to be, gasping a little bit in the third period, middle of the third period, because again, you can't game circumstances, scrimmages. It's not the same.
It's going to be the same as the NFL. I mean, the NFL has all, gone through all this, and some players it affects greater than others. Okay. Some players have no difficulty, and some, still have the lingering fatigue that kind of hangs on. But
which is probably why you're going to see, like, for example, Toronto plays tonight against Montreal. I think their next game is Friday. You're probably going to see 3 or 4 players different from Wednesday's lineup to Friday's lineup. They will rotate in Nick Robertson or Mikko Lehtinen. They'll rotate these guys in, and they'll use them because I don't think they want to overload their players. And
no question. It'll take away some minutes from them.
Right, as hamstring injuries, things of that nature, there was really 10-day training camp, no exhibition games. You're going to see a lot of pulled muscles.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to throw in another factor that I don't think anyone thought about. We are going to see a gazillion 3-point games. I think we're going to see a ton, because every game has playoff implications.
Every game is a 4-point game, yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to have teams we're going to have a ton of games go to overtime, a ton of games go to shootouts.
Because mostly are interdivisional, so yeah.
They're all interdivisional, and as is typical towards the end of the year in the NHL, when we start seeing interdivisional games and we see a ton of 3-point games, we're going to see it from the start. I mean, and the 3-point is never going to be more evident. There's going to be more teams with overtime losses that are going to be, in the playoffs. It's just going to be it's going to be a strategy. The hell out of us.
Yes, it's going to be a strategy. There's no question. Yeah. There will be teams that just want to get into overtime to get that point. There's no question about it.
I thought Elliot Friedman had an interesting point on the morning show today. Obviously, different teams are preparing for this season in different ways. And teams like Toronto and teams like Montreal, if you look at Montreal and you look at their taxi squad, they have Michael Frolik and they have Corey Perry on their taxi squad. There are not a lot of teams that have experienced guys on their taxi squad ready to step in. Toronto has, a pretty deep taxi squad. A lot of other teams, they're putting their entry-level guys because they're cheap, or they're putting guys who they probably don't even plan on bringing up to the NHL. But other teams who are prepared for a long season for the potential of COVID positives on their team, they've planned for it, and they're more prepared with depth on their rosters to be able to deal with it.
Let me throw this out there, because I don't know the answer to this, but could it be that it ends up working the other way? Never has it been more important to deny the other team a point.
True. That's true.
And so, you're playing a team like, every game is a 4-point game. Usually you get some break during the season when most of the teams in your division are out floating around playing other divisions. And so, there's no game where one team's coming out with points. Well, every night you look, and all the teams you're in competition with, they're going to get points.
Oh yeah.
So it's never been more important than now to deny points to your opponent.
I want to see how that plays out. I think it'll matter more with teams that are closer together, maybe in the standings. As the season goes on, say you're Buffalo towards the end of the year and you're playing Boston or whatever, and there's 5 teams between you. I mean, but that, and I also think that along these lines, and I talked to a coach this morning who mentioned this to me as well. He said, don't think there won't be goalies pulled quicker than ever before towards the end of the games, because there's an absolutely nothing to lose type situation to try to tie that game. You're in that spot where you have to tie it, and there's no point not.
Yeah, I could see him pulling it with 3.5 minutes to go and things like that. Yeah.
Well, he also agreed with my 3-point thing and says that you really, when you're looking at the standings, when you want to say this team and that team are we said these 5 teams could finish any order we want or whatever. When you're looking at that kind of thing, he says you should start looking at who's the better shootout teams. He says because it's going to get to that. It's going to get to the shootout teams. The better shootout teams are going to matter.
Well, we saw the Flyers, what their shootout looks like, so they better hope it doesn't come to that.
Right. And there are some teams who love going to the shootout, some teams who hate going to the shootout. That is going to matter a lot when you get down to it. Just because the shortened season, every point's more important, and you're always playing somebody you're battling against. That's more important.
Well,
ahead,
let me go to the negative, because that's where I'm good. I'm comfortable.
That's his wheelhouse.
Exactly.
Really, you sure you're gonna do that?
If a team gets off to a 1-9 start, or, something like that,
Possible.
It's a 56 game schedule with no fans.
Right.
Don't you think that teams that get off to a really bad start will be more apt to tank quicker? I think they will. I
hate tanking, but I'm with you. I think tanking is going to be an issue this year. I completely think that.
I don't think they would tank at 1-9, though.
Not at 1-9, but as we get down towards the last 10, 15 games of the season.
Yeah, I could see. Sure. Yeah.
I don't know, though. I think a bad start is more costly this season than ever before, because if you're at if you start out 1-9, there's probably one team in your division then that's gone 9-1,
right?
And it just depends on what's happening with the other games, but you could be out of this quickly.
You could be, yeah.
So
the only thing is, the only thing I would say, Kev, is that 9-1 team could all of a sudden get injuries and COVID situation, and they're short for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden their record starts tightening up. So I thought about this. I don't think teams will bail that quick.
I thought about this, Mike, when you were what you're saying. When I talked to a team the other day, like I said, there are a couple teams that have, a couple people I know that have said, their owners have said, if we go to the playoffs, we lose more money. And I'm thinking that's like, unless we're going to win the whole thing, going to the playoffs might not really benefit us as much as you think.
Will they lose more money though?
I was drawn out for me, and I want to write it.
The players don't care about that.
Players don't care about it.
No, I understand that, but I thought that you could make money because we're supposed to be able by that point to maybe have more people in the
Well,
fans.
there is of course, yeah, you're right. If there are fans, that's. But I think everyone's planning for that not to happen, because they have to sort of plan for that not to happen.
Well, Eugene Melnick was planning on for it to happen.
Yeah, I know.
That's wrong, because if you don't pay players in the playoffs,
right.
Yeah, but so whatever added revenue you get in the playoffs is plus. So
the only thing building, from what I was told, just the whole concept of having to keep the building open longer, having to keep everything going longer, is just very costly. Like once you can actually shut the whole, basically, once you can shut the vacation house down, is how it was explained to me at the end of the season. Boom, we're shutting down. We don't have to pay anybody else at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I plan on doing a story about detailing that, from what I've been told. But here's the thing about that it is really interesting. So you have the other thing that keeps teams honest from tanking is what? They need to sell tickets. You need to still put people in the crowd towards the end of this year. If you think you're going to lose all the time, who's going to go to the games? And that's another thing that factor to keep teams from, because I've talked to people before. I'm like, you guys don't care if you win, and we got to keep winning. We got to sell tickets.
Well, they do have to sell next year's tickets. That's true, and they're going to start selling them early, because once we feel like everybody, if everybody starts to go to baseball games, maybe in like July, teams are going to start making sure they're full capacity for the next season.
All that changes if we do have fans back by the playoffs. But here's the next factor, which I thought was really interesting, and was brought up to me by a player. So this is going to benefit younger players intensely, because of the fact, first of all, that they're more nervous in front of big crowds. And they're, like we saw Carter Hart last year, much better in Philly than he was on the road and stuff like that. But he says also really is a detriment to veterans, because we, as the season gets on and as it gets harder and longer and more intense and we're tired, draw our energy quite often off the crowd.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think it's
when we get up for a game, you go out there, see somebody says sometimes, I don't feel like playing at all. Oh man, this is my third game in 4 nights. My knee's killing me. But the second I skate onto that ice and the crowd goes crazy, I'm energized. I get it. So that doesn't exist. And without that existing, younger players, and he said that this guy I talked to said he thought that's why it seems like the Capitals and Penguins and Blues had a tough time in the bubble too, in similar type of situations. That without that existing, really hard. I mean, you can say you're playing on TV still, and there's a certain amount of pride that you're still.
Well, that's where the leaders on your team have to keep people, engaged, excited, or whatever, and I think they will.
Yeah, I think the flow of the game too always is what keeps players up. If the game is contentious, and you build up a hatred. We've already had guys. They talked about it in the last playoffs. How a lot of guys said, I didn't. After a while, I stopped even thinking about it. You don't even.
Oh, yeah.
You're just playing the game. So.
I think you do stop thinking about it. I would think what he was talking about was that initial, "Am I up for work today?" type feeling. Like you get to the office and you're like, ugh. But then you're completely up for it the second you hear the crowd.
Yeah, and there is a lot to be said. I've always believed in the momentum that comes in the playoffs when you're playing every other day, and it's just so exciting, and everybody in the city. A lot's going to depend on, especially in the what's the coverage going to be like?
Right, right.
Are you still going to be turn on your radio and they're going to be talking about you?
Right.
That kind of thing.
I think there's still going to be things written about guys, and they're still going to go online and read them and tell us they don't read them. That's going to be normal. It
is interesting, though. I have seen, and no one has gone through, although, and there's a thought out there that there's less coverage now of sports in the pandemic, and I've never paid that much attention to it, so I don't really know. But I've heard people suggest that, for a variety of reasons, not just the pandemic, but the fact that, we have fewer outlets now.
Yeah.
And we have fewer journalists, that the places don't have as many people. So instead of getting, 3 stories, there's only 2 and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens as we follow, because we all follow kind of the same people.
Yeah. Right.
So we don't, pay attention to where, like how many different people. I would think, when I, knowing how many in each city, there seems to be 10 blogs about that team. But
I think the fact that we follow all the same people, Kevin, is just making your point for yourself, honestly, because we are writers, of course, and we have certain guys we respect. But at the same time, I also think that those are the guys that almost everyone is following. Like, I think that is, I feel for the smaller, startup type blog type situations now as that happens, because I do know, as personally, like, as from obviously when running a website, we saw that Trump destroyed us in the coverage, because all the media coverage for Trump, and people, when they go online, Trump was so interesting, hate him or like him, he was so interesting that they were the first 3 articles that people would read when they got to their internet, computer, were Trump articles, and then that became pandemic articles, and I think that plays into it for sure, because these are major things that are happening in the world, and right now, impeachment and threats of all this stuff. These are major things that take away from how many people. Yeah,
but it won't take away from this. People are dying for sports. They are going to watch. They're going to read. I don't think there's going to be any problem. I really don't. And actually, there are going to be times in this year when it's just the NHL and the NBA.
Yeah, and just think of this.
An opportunity.
Just think of this: in 7 days, we'll have the most boring president in the history of the republic, and then everybody will put back to hockey.
Right.
I would love that to be the case.
Yeah,
I support that.
Me too.
Boredom in politics, excitement in sports.
Now, there is a lot of news breaking. Like, we could never keep up with all of it either.
Let's go to a couple breaking things before we get to our predictions on
one thing that the chat room. Yeah, one thing that the chat room clued into was, and again, because some of these places have closed practices, because we can't keep up with every team's Twitter account. There are going to be things we discover every day. And so one of them is Sergei Bobrovsky just started skating in camp and may not be in the opener.
Right.
That's one. Yeah.
But that's
kind of, I mean, the thing that happened with Keith Yandel yesterday.
That's not even the biggest.
That's a big story. Yes.
I mean, Kev, we know Joel Quenneville is very peculiar when it comes to certain players. He likes certain players and he doesn't like certain players.
Yep.
It took a year, but I looked at Keith Yandel and said, okay, I don't know if this guy is a Quenneville type of player. And now I think we have a clue that he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've talked about this, as everyone knows, before, about, how this all works. When you have been as successful as Joel Quenneville has been, and he's a heck of a nice guy. So it's, as I said before, it's not a personality thing. It's never the GM, like Stan Bowman and Quenneville got along great. But that didn't mean Joel Quenneville was going to play the players that Stan Bowman acquired.
Right.
He just has his own thoughts on it, and I'm sure his way of thinking is look, I won 3 cups. I know what I'm doing. Just trust me. I'm going to play the people that I think successful. And he likes certain guys. Some of them are harder to find. I mean, if you look historically, he wants one fast guy on every line. That's the way he's always played. You look on all of his lines, and he always has a fast guy. And he does not like risk takers.
No.
You can be a risk taker as long as you can get back and cover up, like Duncan Keith could.
Right. And in big games, he'll only play 3 defensemen in the end. Like he'll ignore the rest, no matter who it is.
Yeah. And he liked to have Taves and Kane on separate lines, but when it was on the game was on the line, he had them together. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be kind of his MO. And what are you going to do? You're going to go to Quenneville and say, you got to play him?
Yeah, no, and obviously they're not, because Yandel's going to be in the, and it tells us a little bit also about the relationship we talked about before. We don't know what Quenneville and Zito are going to have, the relationship they're going to have.
Right.
Obviously, they're okay. I mean,
as long as you let it go, they're okay.
I talked to some people there, and
although
they're 100% behind it.
Let's look at it this way, though. Bill Zito didn't acquire Yandel.
Right.
He inherited him. So,
right.
It'd be a different story. Like if who did Zito bring in this year?
Nudavara, Gudis.
Yeah, Gudis. Okay.
Yeah, Raka Gudis is a good example.
So he brings in Gudis. What if Joe Quenneville decides, I just can't stand Gudis. He's going in the press box.
Which could happen.
Those are the issues where, there are always a little bit of tension. I'm trying to think of the guy. It was Rundblad. Wasn't it Rundblad?
David Rundblad, yeah.
Yeah, who he acquired from Arizona, he being Bowman. And then he brought him in, and Quenneville played him a couple of games, and then it just seemed like he decided he didn't like him.
What about Trevor Daly? He brought in Trevor Daly, I think, a free agent, and after a half season, they traded him to Pittsburgh because he wouldn't play him, or he limited his minutes. It's like,
the last time I truly saw Quenneville dissatisfied was at the draft in Chicago. When one of his guys was traded, he got up and left the draft table and never came back. I've never coached do that.
Yeah.
Can I just throw out there on something that a real pet peeve, real fast, that I have right now about the NHL and what we're all doing, and can we stop doing this? This is not the 2020-2021 season. This is the 2021 season. I mean, we didn't play a single game in 2020 that goes with this season. There's nothing. I mean, and I know that we have this, first of all, it's hard to say the 2021 season in and of itself. Whenever you have to say, it's the best of the 2020-2021 season, is difficult to say. But this is just the freaking 2021 NHL season. That's what it is.
You missed the pre-show. We talked about this.
You did talk about it. Okay.
We did, and you and I are comrades in arms on this.
Okay, thank you. It's little things like that, right? It's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I get it. I mean,
every time I have to write it, like when you want to Google something, like I wanted to see who's picking who for the awards, because I'm doing the show. I'm like, okay, so I go in the awards, and I have to people are saying the 2020-21 season prediction for awards. I'm like, wait a second, that's not. Oh yeah, that's this year, right? I don't know. Yeah. All right, let's get into the awards though, because they are really tough. And yet the crazy thing is this. I think, and I said this yesterday, you guys saw my wacky predictions for the Eastern Division, which are out there, and I've gotten ripped to shreds on the internet. And I thank all of you out there for having such open minds. But I want to say that I think people are being unbelievably lazy in predicting this. I've never seen more laziness. First of all, we haven't seen an NHL regular season game in 10 months. Okay, so we don't know. We have no idea. Some of these teams we haven't seen play in 10 months. We have no idea what's going to happen with some of these teams. Some of these guys got old that we don't even know got old. Some of these younger players have matured that we don't even know have matured. So to sit there and say that we have no idea, or to sit there and say that everybody is picking, I don't mean that. To sit there and say we have no idea is legitimate. To sit there and say that these are definitely the guys who are winning these awards and that Colorado is definitely going to win the Stanley Cup is just lazy, I think. I think
you got to wait till you hear our lazy predictions. So
I can't wait. All right, so let's start with the Hart, because the Hart is, the Hart's always fun. That's a biggie. The Hart Trophy, obviously, the MVP of the league. Always fun, spelled without an E.
Nathan MacKinnon.
All right, you're going to go with Nathan MacKinnon?
Yeah.
All right.
That's who I have.
Yeah, me too.
Nathan McKinnon. Okay.
So I know that must be lazy, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I am going to go with Austin Matthews.
Come see, this is what he does. He does this every single time. He's cursing the Leafs by picking them. That's what
I'm not cursing anyone. I don't have, despite what you might think, I don't have those kind of powers. I just don't possess the ability to change things. I wish I did. If I did, believe me, we would be at the All-Star break right now.
This is passive aggressive.
That's fine. Leave it alone. It is possible.
I don't listen. I think McKinnon is great, a phenomenal player, and on the uprise. I think Connor McDavid, same thing, right? These guys are, but I think McKinnon has such a good team around him that there are going to be some people who are going to say, they might split the votes a little bit on certain players there.
It's always possible, but if he's great, he's great. That's the way I look at it.
I want to throw another, and maybe I think it's kind of fun. You guys can decide if you want to do this or not, but I have long shots for each of these awards. Okay. And you
didn't ask us to put long shots.
I know I didn't, because I didn't want to prepare. I wanted you to go off the top of your head. But my long shot for this award is Johnny Gaudreau. And I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Everything I have heard from Calgary and people out there say Johnny Gaudreau looks unbelievable, and that he is absolutely 100% dedicated to becoming everything that he was and more. So he's had a couple down seasons for sure, and people are saying he's going to be traded for sure. It's a long shot. It's a long shot. So it's a long shot. All right. Anybody else want to throw a long shot name out there?
Elias Pettersson.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about a long shot.
You don't have to. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, but I'll throw one out. Jack Eichel.
Oh, nice. See,
I don't think it's even. It's probably as implausible as Gaudreau because Buffalo won't make the playoffs probably, and but he could have a monster year.
He could.
Sure.
Especially with Taylor Hall on his wing.
Yeah.
Does he have to make the playoffs to win that award? Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I just don't see the boys and the women who cover the league, voting for a guy that doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, Art Ross. Mike. This, of course, the player who scores the most points.
Right, I know.
Just for others out there who don't.
Well, I mean, to be consistent, if I think McKinnon's going to win the Hart, then I thought McKinnon's going to win the Ross.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I feel too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's McKinnon.
Man. All right. Mitch Marner.
Jesus. See what I mean?
All right.
He's doing this on purpose.
I don't do this on purpose. I have thought this through, okay? The Leafs, okay, are going into a division now that I think is weaker defensively than the division they were in, believe it or not. Like, and I honestly thought that, I think that when you're adding some of these teams, like I think Edmonton gives up a lot of goals. I mean, I think Vancouver's going to give up a lot of goals. They're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to give up goals. Winnipeg, I know everyone says they're the best goalie in the world, and
that is a lot of goals.
I don't know. I just think that Marner play, and then it's not just the amount of goals. It's also the style these teams play.
Russ, you're breaking up.
Am I?
Yeah. This is the flaw in your argument. The Leafs are coming from a division that has Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa, and the only weak team in the new North Division, in the All Canadian Division, is Ottawa, and they're not that bad.
Yeah,
I think it's a much tougher division than the one that they were in. Much tougher.
Maybe to score, but more they play. Even though those teams are weak defensively, they play a more close to the vest type style than some of the teams out west do. I think it's going to suit the Leafs. I think the Leafs are going to love playing in that style. I think that's the style they prefer to play, and that's why I think the points for Marner, and that's why I think Matthews is going to win the other thing. Because I think it's going to really play into the Leafs' hands. Now, I'm not saying that Leafs are going to be great in the playoffs, but I'm saying regular season here, I think this is still going to be something to look out for.
Well, the odds makers and therefore the bettors believe that Toronto is going to be one of the top 4 contenders for the Cup. I mean,
they really have.
You say that Colorado is favorite, which is true, but they're not a prohibitive favorite. Like last time I looked, Colorado was at plus 650 to win the Cup, and I think the Lightning were at 750, and the Golden Knights were at like 850, and I think Toronto was at 1,000. Now there is a lot of people just bet on Toronto because they have a lot of fans, but
yeah,
right.
So Matthews is probably
he's up there in terms.
Yeah, he's a more likely bet. And the thing about here's what I would say about that: if you really look at this from a betting perspective,
right?
The odds on Matthews would be enticing because
Right.
he has a chance, unlike Gaudreau.
Right.
He has a chance to win, and
Right.
the payoff would be pretty big.
So let's go with the Vezina next, and you can pick Freddie Anderson.
No, not picking that. I would never do that. Not in a million years.
Nobody would.
All right, but let's go to the Vezina. All right, Kevin, you started off with the Vezina.
Well, I'm going to go with the guy that I think is the best goalie in the league, and that's Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
I think he's just better than everybody. So I think even on days when he's not spectacular, he's still exceptional.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, he is. He's just fun to watch. He's so freaking smooth. I mean, he's so smooth. He's so fast. He's so quick. I mean, he does have a great defense in front of him. There's no question about that.
Well, I'll go the way of Ack here. I will choose Carey Price for the Vezina because with the improvement,
you're trying to jinx Carey Price. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, with the improvement on defense, with Edmondson, with I think, and this is a Claude Julien team that I think Bergevin has assembled players that are consistent with a Claude Julien type of club, which means they'll play tough defensively. And the fact that they have Jake Allen as the backup will take some of the burden off of Carey Price. So I will throw my jinx on Carey Price for the Vezina.
I will. My pick is Connor Hellebuck to win his second. He's super determined, and even if Winnipeg doesn't make the playoffs, it'll be easy to look at Hellebuck and say, "Wow, they've stayed in a lot of games because of him."
You brought up Carey Price and Edmondson. It's a good time to bring this up. Like, I'm among those that really like the acquisition from the Montreal perspective. But don't you think away about Edmondson's value? Like, like everybody acts as if they've just added a Norris Trophy defenseman.
I think I'll go further. I think we're getting carried away with Montreal's value. Like, I think the people are just out of their minds. Like TSN, all the TSN people were on there. Every one of them had Montreal 1 or 2 in the division.
Yeah, well, I had Montreal 2 in the division. I like what they did. There were a lot of really significant changes, and I like the sum of all those changes.
Right.
So,
I mean, they're. I think they're the right moves. I think he made some really.
Well, let's see how we pick it at the end and see if we get crazy.
What happens? All right. So who's? So we have our 3. You guys have all put your guy in, right?
Yeah.
Guess who mine is?
Yours is going to be.
You guys have been hanging out with me long enough.
Igor Shesterkin.
Ilya Sorokin. You're right.
It's going to be one or the other.
I already said him as a wacky prediction, but I think there's your Vezina trophy, and I think it's going to be the first time have we had an NHL rookie win the Vezina in goal?
I think so.
Yeah, we have, but it's not been for a while.
Yeah, I think we have.
Did Jim Carey win it?
He may have. I don't know.
I'll check.
My long shot for this would be, and it's not really a long shot, actually. I shouldn't even say it's a long shot, but would be Tuukka Rask, and I think it's not a super long shot. But I'll just say he's usually my other. But you want to go long shot, you would go Bobrovsky, but I'm not going there.
Speaking of Sorokin, I think we all know what his potential is, and we've all watched the YouTube videos, and there's been a lot of discussion about him for the last couple of years. Yeah. But I happened to go the other day and look up his numbers in the KHL for the last 6 years, and they're in front of me now here. Mm-hmm. This is his goals against averages over the last 6 years. 1.31, 1.06, 1.61, 1.59, 1.16, 1.50. His save percentages in those same years seasons are 937, 953, 929, 931, 940, and 935. Now, statistics are statistics, but oh my gosh. Like,
we talked about this yesterday when we were doing this show, the predictions for the East, because we were talking about, pressure on a guy.
Yeah.
He did all those numbers playing for Vladimir Putin's team, Kevin.
Yeah,
so talking about pressure there pressure on the island versus playing for Vladimir Putin's team? I think he's going to be okay handling the NHL pressure.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard for him to win the Vezina Act because he's not going to play a lot of games right away. That's the problem.
No, I don't think it's going to take long though. It's not going to take long. And
or a gulag in Siberia.
And also, what's the most any goalie is going to play this year? Like, what in your opinion? Like 40 games?
40 games is
45. I think someone will play 45 games because they're going to have to.
Right. So I mean, and maybe you're looking at like New Jersey for that, like or something like that.
I can see Blackwood playing 45 games.
Blackwood, yeah. But I fully believe that you'll see Sorokin in the 35 games.
Yeah, I don't think he'll hit 35.
If he hits 35, he's. I mean, how many games you're gonna have to play to be eligible for the Vezina this year? We don't even know that.
It doesn't matter. There's no games eligible. I just think
no eligibility game.
No, but I think because Varlamov happens to be very friendly with Trotz and Trotz likes him, it's going to take a lot for Trotz to all of a sudden make it even or a Sorokin favored goal tandem, especially if they're winning. If they're winning, he's not going to all of a sudden just say, yeah, Ilya, you get the lion's share of the games, or you're going to go 50-50. He's not going to do that.
I don't know. I feel like I know Trotz more than I know most coaches in the league, and I think he will do that. I think that's exactly
he has said he's starting out. He's alternating him, so we'll see. But
and that's the right thing to say.
This is what I would say about him. I don't believe he's going to win the Vezina, but I'm in a fantasy league, a big time fantasy league, and I went out of my way to make sure I got.
Oh, that's good. I would do it too.
Yeah. No reason. I'm just a big believer in him, and I think he's going to end up as the number one goalie there. Just because I also think Varlamov, there's even when he plays well, you're always just waiting for him to fail.
Yeah, that's a great friggin' point. I agree. And the thing about Varlamov too is he more than any other goalie in the league, when he's playing poorly, looks small.
Sure, but he played great last year, the whole year.
No, there were times last year actually in playoffs there were times when he looked small.
Let me interject some trivia here. 4 goaltenders have won the Vezina and the Calder in the same year.
Okay.
We've heard of all 4 of them. I'll give you the one, Frank, Mr. Zero Brimzik.
Right.
But the other 3 are all in our lifetime. 2 of them are Chicago Blackhawks.
We need to find some people who know hockey to know this.
Tony Esposito.
Tony Esposito in 1970.
Corey Crawford?
No.
I'm not guessing. Just read them.
Ed Bell.
Dominic Hasek.
Ed Bell, 1991, and the other one is Tom Barrasso in Buffalo.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was.
Yeah. So I do think Ilya Sorokin is, and I said this yesterday, is the most consequential goalie to enter the NHL since Dominic Hasek. And I think that.
Oh my God! Can we just not?
Hold on, I'm going to call a timeout here. And I'm going to say
what I say, guys, is not going to change the course of history.
No. But I want to give you perspective. I feel like you need perspective on this. Perspective is for as long as Shesterkin and Sorokin were around, Shesterkin was the better goalie. He was the better goalie for Team Russia. He was the better goalie in the KHL. When Shesterkin left, then all of a sudden Sorokin became the guy. And so if you think he's going to do better than Shesterkin, I don't know where you're coming from with that.
I think first of all, he's got a much better defense than Shesterkin.
I was going to say that the only factor here is that he's playing in front of behind a Barry Trotz coached defensive club.
And they are my favorite 2 goalies in the NHL there. So I love Shesterkin because
the Rangers defense was bad and Shesterkin had a .930 save percentage. So what was the difference?
I do think that when I watch the 2 of them play, as much as I love Shesterkin, and I love Shesterkin, and I think he's a killer, and I love the fact he brought the poke check back in and is confusing young players with it. But I will say this, that I just think that when I watch the 2, and I haven't seen Sorokin play in the NHL, so it's hard to really. I know that this is a little bit crazy, but I'm just saying that
as long as you know it, we can move on. It's fine.
But I'm just telling you, I just think watching the 2 of them play. And hearing what I've heard, especially from talking to people at the Islanders camp right now, some of the players up there, you hear what they're saying about Sorokin in the practices.
I mean, don't hear it.
There was a practice yesterday that went on where they do this drill for 15 minutes or whatever, and it's a really hard drill. It's like a 2-on-0 basically drill against the goalies, and no one scored on it. Some of the players said we've never done that drill where no one has scored at all, which was insane. Like that kind of thing. I don't know. I just think the pressure. I just think mentally, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't usually love watching the Islanders, but I think he's gonna be worth.
So when he gets sent to Bridgeport in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but that could, when Shesterkin showed up, you had an instant romance with him.
I did.
And now you're ready to.
That's my point.
There's another pretty girl. You're moving on.
You're right. You're right. I'm a goalie whore. Is that what you're saying, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly. So who's your favorite? Is it Sorokin? You've given up on
Sorokin's my favorite.
Okay.
Sorokin's my second favorite, and I like both of them more than people are always like, oh, you should like Carter Hart. I like both of them more than I like Carter Hart. I like Carter Hart a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Well, where's Vasilevsky fit in your bromance?
Well, Vasilevsky would be of all the goalies, Vasilevsky would be 3. I would put Vasilevsky at 3, and I would say that, and that's why I think we're in this unbelievable era of Russian goalies. That's just
there's no doubt about that.
This Russian goalie era is ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous what we're seeing the goalies coming out of Russia.
Yeah, although Askarov in the World Juniors looked like Mr. Rebound.
He did. Yeah. We don't know if he. Yeah. I think he was hurt.
When I was watching the World Juniors too, I remembered there was a great lead that Kevin DuPont, and I won't do it justice because I don't remember exactly how he wrote it, but Kevin DuPont, in covering a playoff game with Hasek, said, Dominic Hasek must not like his stick because he always gets rid of it, because the stick was all the way. Well, Askarov lost his stick in one game I was watching 6 times.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know if he has watched film of Hasek and stuff, but like, come on, hang on to your stick.
I know.
It's not normal for him. I think he had an injury. That was my.
There is an invention.
Kevin, are we going to see him at all? I mean, I know you wrote him as one of the more interesting players. Are we going to see him in Nashville?
Not this year.
Not this year, right?
No.
All right. So let's
wait till his contract runs out.
Let's move on to the Calder. While we're here, obviously who I'm going with, because if he wins the Vezina, he wins the Calder. So
that's fair. I mean, that you would be right about that.
I don't think there's any way he does it.
Yeah, I'll steal Russ's thunder. I like Kaprizov for the Minnesota Wild.
Yep, that's who mine is. I think it's going to be a really tough race this year because guys could be out with COVID, guys could be on the taxi squad, guys. There's a lot that's going to go on, and I think there'll be a lot of guys in the running, but I think Kaprizov will be the guy.
I had him as my number one on Hockey Buzz, my number one and most intriguing rookie. But because if you look at his, that between the legs goal online is unbelielievable. But
he had a couple of points in a scrimmage game the other day.
Yeah, but I think it's Shesterkin.
He's my number 2.
This is my thought. If he is in the final 3 for the rookie of the year, the Rangers will make the playoffs. If he's not, they won't.
I think that's fair.
I like that a lot. Mike, did you say yours? Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, Kaprizov.
I just did an article, and it's Kaprizov, Shesterkin, and Lafreniere. That's how I had it.
Let's go to the Norris Trophy. The Norris Trophy, I think, is going to be really heavily competitive this year.
Wide open. Yeah.
Wide open.
Wide open. I'll give you a preview. Well, I gave you a preview of what I thought who's going to win the Norris yesterday when I talked about with Dan about who the best defenseman in the East Division was, and I said Provorov. I think Provorov's going to win the Norris.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Mine is Cale Makar.
Yeah, that's who I got. Yeah.
I'm with Mike on this one. I hate to say it. I think he's the guy I picked too.
Done something wrong.
This is the first time I think that's ever been the case. But so Provorov should probably take out extra life insurance today.
Even a broke clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, Provorov probably just rolled over in his pregame nap, say there's a disturbance in the universe, But that's happening. I'm with you on that. My long shot for this one, I had a long shot. Let's see where was Shea Theodore.
It can't be Shea. Or what are we doing with Norris? Sorry, we're on
Norris. A long shot for the Norris. Yes, it can be.
No, I know we're on Norris. I forgot.
Just ready to jump down my throat, Russ, at anything I do.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Act to say Morgan Riley was his long shot.
I'll give you my long shot. It's Quinn Hughes.
TJ Brody, Mike.
Quinn Hughes is my long shot.
Quinn Hughes is a really freaking good call, man. I'm gonna steal and take yours.
Yeah, that is a good one. I like that too. Yeah, because
I think Maurice Richard Trophy. This is for the guy who scores the most goals.
I already gave a prediction on Sirius yesterday, and they did it. I didn't even know they were going to ask me, so of course they just threw it at me. But I went Ovechkin, 37 goals.
It's funny. In Hockey Buzz, I just wrote that Ovechkin's going to get 40. So,
Nice.
so
I said he might get 40. I did say that.
Yeah.
But I had 37 as the number because I said I think 40 will be really hard.
what did you? This is interesting. I don't know. I'm sure you didn't have time to read it because I just posted before we came on. But Mike,
I didn't.
how many points do you think Thornton's going to get? I had my prediction for that.
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
First of all, I don't think he's going to play with Matthews and Marner the entire season.
No.
No, I don't. I'd be surprised. I mean, I think they're going to try to limit his minutes, which I think.
No, I was agreeing with you actually when I said no.
I'm going to go 32. 32.
I'd say
mostly assists, like 3 goals.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
30.
Well, here's my take. He had 32 last year, and by all accounts, he played horrible. So I think he's going to get 40 to 45 this season.
Oh, I don't know. This year it's going to be tough to get that many.
If he does that, they'll be ecstatic.
Yeah.
That would be amazing if he does. Really.
Yeah.
My pick is sign up for another year.
My pick's going to surprise you because you probably thought I was going to say like John Tavares, right, Mike? But I'm not. I'm not going to pick the other two already for awards. This is going to be right down to the end between two guys that were drafted right next to each other.
Zach Hyman.
Nope. Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine. Well, they weren't. No, McDavid and Laine, right? I'm sorry. Anyway.
No. Matthews and Laine.
Matthews and Laine? Okay. Making sure I was right there for a second. Yeah, so I think, but I'm going to go, I think Patrick Laine is going to win.
Yeah.
You've been pushing this narrative all preseason. It's not surprising.
I think there is a better chance of Patrick Laine being dealt than there is.
Hold on. I want to put this in perspective too. This will be his career high in goals in the fewest amount of games he could possibly play.
Like I said, you guys are just being lazy, and not looking at all the factors that are going to
hear me. He's only going to get the chance to play in 56 games. He would have to score at least 35 goals. He doesn't do that every year.
No, I think he's going to score 35 goals.
Okay.
Right. But what's going to happen is he's going to get traded to a team that had to shut down for COVID for 2 weeks, so he'll be able to play like 6 or 7 extra games.
Right.
If he gets traded, Mike, I'm even going to double down. I mean, I think that's even better if he gets traded because it depends where he goes. But
actually, I think it is better if he gets traded.
It could even be better. Okay. Kevin, who do you have on this one?
I'm sorry. What are we talking about?
That's the best answer you've had all day.
Have I so disinterested you? No, we're talking about. Did I dig your pick? I'm sorry, Maurice Richard.
It's Ovechkin. Yeah, I thought you guys had gone off on a tangent. Yeah, no, So I think Ovechkin. You look at the last time in a 48 game season, he had 32 goals. But he's had 100 and like last year he had 48 and 68 games. He's still playing at such a high level.
Yeah.
So I think he has a shot to get 40. I don't think it's a great shot, but I think he does.
Oh, I think it's a shot too. I like it. I like the idea. And I would love to see it. I mean, honestly, I really would. All right. So I want to, before we get out of here today, I do have to do one thing. And I know we got other news, but we have to do this. We have to do a little bit of business here. And
we got other picks to do though.
What other picks do we have? Oh, we have to do the Stanley Cup, right? I'm sorry. I just figured you guys were all picking.
You didn't do Selke either, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. The Selke. Let's do the Selke. I apologize. I'm sorry. I got so many things going on at once here.
Couturier.
I have Couturier for a second.
That's what I have as well.
Okay.
Oh.
Zach Hyman.
No, I actually have Sean Couturier as well. I just thought it would be weird if I agreed with you all. But no, I have the same one there, and I think that I think Couturier. We're going to see a huge year out of him. I just think that we're going to see enormous. He was very upset with the way he played in the bubble. He's got one of those pride type guys. He's going to be a monster. I
even wrote down the Jennings, but that's okay.
The Jennings. All right. Go ahead.
I have Varlamov and Sorokin for the Jennings.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Obviously, I'm thinking Sorokin's going to win it all. I'll say that. The Jennings. Do you have? How about the year for the Jennings, Kev?
Well, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay group.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tampa Bay. I agree.
All right, Tampa Bay. So let's finish it off with the Stanley Cup before we get into some fantasy.
Stanley Cup final, right?
Stanley Cup final. Like, tell me who's going to play for that, or you can give me the final four if you want. Let's do the final.
I only did the final.
All right, do the final two then.
I'll give you the final. I had
Russ was too lazy to come up with
you will hate me, Ek. I have Colorado versus Montreal with the Canadians winning.
Really?
Canada is off the schneid.
Wow.
This
How
is
amazing would it be if Montreal won a Stanley Cup before Toronto?
This is a weird year. This could be Carey Price's year. Like, it's a short season. It's entirely possible.
Well, I actually, as much as I like Colorado, and I like them a lot, and I think Sagic's going to make some moves, I'm doing something that I'm shocked by, and that is I'm going to pick Tampa Bay to repeat.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay to repeat.
Yeah. I know. I just think that their ability to keep their team together, I think Kucherov's coming back for the playoffs. I think they still have a strong team. They'll have money to make a move at the end. They'll pick up a veteran player as well. I think they have a real good shot to repeat.
Well, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so I'll flatter Kevin by saying Tampa. I agreed Tampa Bay. The only way Colorado makes the Stanley Cup final is if Sakic goes out before the deadline trade.
I think he will.
Yeah, I have no confidence whatsoever in Francouz and Grubauer being a Stanley Cup goaltending tandem that gets them to the final or wins them a cup. If he goes out,
he gets somebody good at the deadline too.
Right.
The other thing that you have to look at with Colorado, they've got to go through Vegas and St. Louis to get out of their thing.
Yeah, no, that's right. And you compare their goaltending to everyone else.
That's what they'll probably get is a goalie.
Yeah. It's not good.
My final is Edmonton versus Tampa.
Oh, jeez.
And
sorry.
I'm also going with Tampa to repeat.
Yeah.
I have Edmonton missing the playoffs.
I know you do. So, there you go. But all right, so let's move on for a second. I want to show you guys this real quick. We have the Hockey Buzz Super League, and I want to show everybody how it works because people are a little confused, as is Mike. I'm going to show you, Mike, what's going on here with your thing. Because Mike says, not saving my roster. It's not something. I'm going to show you this, okay, why it is. Okay, so it doesn't look like it is sometimes. It's not the best for that sometimes. But here we go. I'm going to share you the screen. So this is the Hockey Buzz league here is this, and it is a really fun league. It's free. You put in a team every week based on they have to be under the $85 million salary cap, and you have to have 4 centers, 4 left wings, 4 right wings, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies. So here's an example of my team for that I put in this week. Mm-hmm. And the fun thing about it, of course, I had an Heiskanen on this team last night, and I moved him off because they're not playing. So you have to take that into account, of course. But how it works is really fun. So, like, for example, if I was to take let's say if I took like Elias Pettersson off of here, I wanted to take him off there, and I wanted to take, let's say I took Ovechkin off of here. So I took a lot of money out of there, right? So now I go back in here, and what's fun about this is it's really, really easy to use. Like I go to this, I hit the center position, and it tells me all the guys I can take that are within the cap. See, I have $11 million now in cap space.
Right.
Now I have all these guys. I could take McKinnon. I could even take Eichel. But then it also tells me left wings I could take. I could take Max Pacioretty if I wanted to, if I was nuts.
It seems easy enough. I don't know why Mike couldn't do it.
The fun thing is too is that so over here, and it lists them in fantasy points that they got last year, and we do have some interesting things fantasy point wise that we do. The goalies are we have some interesting ways. The rules are fun. I won't go through them all, but if you want to check it, I think it's scored better than any other game. Every week you play against one other team. One of their team's players for that week. So you have to be in before the first games of the week, which so tonight this has to be in within the next 3 hours before the 5:30 game starts. And if you don't get a team in today, you're out for the season. That's why I'm pushing it hard. If you want to do it now, you have to do it now. You have to start at least. You don't have to change your lineup every week. You can keep it in. It'll be kind of dumb, but if you forget a week, it just rolls your lineup over from the week before. But the other thing is nice about this, okay, so say I want to go back to Ovechkin. I look at here, it tells me who they're playing that week. So I've got, that also gives 3 games. Why Ovechkin for me? Like, hey, you're playing Buffalo twice and Pittsburgh. So I'll go with Ovechkin, right? So I put Ovechkin back in. And then if I were to go to center, now I only have $1.8 million. So you'll see here, I go through this, and the first guy that comes up, would be the $925,000 cap hit of Elias Pettersson, who's obviously way before, like Blake Coleman. And it does list in order. I really like that a lot. So that's why I obviously went with Elias Pettersson. But it's fun, and I told the bloggers to do it, and told you guys to do it if you could, because I think it would be fun each week to have to see who's we're not going to be playing each other, to see whose team got the most points that week. would be
I'm going to try. I don't know if I'm going to be able to change it every week.
You can't, and it's fine. I'm not. This is not a requirement. You won't be fired, but I would like to see it.
Well, I'm glad that you said that publicly. Now that's
not
good.
for this, at least, Russ.
Okay.
So, but also, if anyone in the chat room, because we have a really fun chat room in here, and I'd like to do that challenge too to see if anybody in the chat room can beat me any given week. I'm sure you will, but I'm just saying that would be fun if you guys do it in the chat room. And even though we won't be playing against each other at the end of the week, we kind of saw who in the chat room gets the most points in the fantasy league, and maybe we could keep running tally and have some kind of prize for the winning chat person, and combining us too. So it's really simple to do. It's just you go to the fantasy tab. It's free to play. If you're a season ticket holder, the prizes are a little bit bigger. If you're not a season ticket holder, the prizes are still really good. And there's a lot of strategy involved in this too. So as you go through it, like I went with Jimmy VC here because I thought, hey, he's $900,000, but he's playing 4 games, or no, 3 games, but 3 games still, Montreal, Ottawa, and Ottawa. Those are 3 teams that they should be able to score on. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to show you how to do it. It's really simple. I would love you guys to do it, and I'd love to see how each of us do each week and have like a little bit of fun with it. Because, it is a short season, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it develops. So that is that. Do we have any other news, Mike, before we have to go?
Mike?
Hey, Mike. So, Mike, Mike also had an issue.
He muted us.
I'm okay now.
Right, Mike, here's the other thing about that, Mike. Mike was saying it's not saving my thing, right? It's not saving my roster. It is. It just doesn't look like it. Because you'll still see the save the roster button up there, even after you saved it.
Okay.
But your roster's on there, and you can make changes right up until the puck drops tonight. And I had for example, I had Anthony Duclair in there because I'm like, hey, he's playing for Florida, but he plays Dallas twice. So I pulled him out last night. I changed that out because Dallas isn't playing this week. So there you have it. But I hope we all get involved and we can have some fun with it. Really it would be fun. And you don't have to change it every week, Russ. So you can be a little bit lazy if you want.
It has nothing to do with being lazy. I've got a lot to do, man.
I know, but I'm telling you, and so do I, and I'm really bad at
3 or 4 games a week.
But I just wanted to show you guys how friggin' simple it is to do this and how you don't have to think that much about it. It really is one of the simpler fantasy things I've ever seen. And that's what I like about it too, because who has the time to really go through this and really intensely do it? I mean, we should because it's our job. But besides that, there you go. All right. That is that. And I wanted to anything else, Mike? We're good?
Nope.
All right. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today on this.
My pleasure.
Special day. And we will be back tomorrow. And Russ, you know what we're doing? we're putting on clothes and going to work.
I always have clothes on. What do you
mean?
But
I mean, we're actually leaving our house.
Yeah, I'm leaving it tonight. Yeah.
I haven't left my house for my job.
Thank God, Russ.
Since March. So Russ and I will be down in
not seeing no pants, but yes.
We'll be down in the building tonight for the Flyers Penguins around at 5:30. So enjoy. I'm sure you'll see us because who else are they going to focus on when they put the cameras to the crowd?
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that.
I'm sure the media is going to get some airtime.
You should. You should go sit behind the bench so we'd see you. So
I will sit somewhere. I will sit somewhere where you will definitely see me. You'll know me because I'll be wearing a fedora, as is my custom. Okay, so you'll see me there with my fedora on. Remember, folks, without the buzz, Mike's just disgusted when they had it all together. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.